Hi, Mario Menjivar here, and welcome to the magic of animation. In this lesson, we're going to be doing a bouncing ball. We're going to be learning about squash and stretch, spacing and timing, and arcs. Now, these are very important things that you have to know because you will be taking this throughout your career or if you want to have fun with it. So let's do a bouncing ball and I'll guide you through it slowly and let's have fun. So the first thing what we're going to do is create an arc. We're going to do the floor first. Now these arcs basically is what the ball is going to follow. So the first key of the ball will be here. Then my second key will be the squash. My third key will be the ball up on top at its highest point again. So the next one is going to be a squash. And the last key will be right here at the corner, just like the first drawing. So we're going to go back to the first drawing again. And now we're going to break them down. So we're going to actually half. In other words, when we're talking about half, is that you're going to take your keys and you're going to do a half between those two key drawings. So we're going to place that half right here. And we're going to be repeating the same thing. We're going to be following the arcs. I kind of have an idea where the arc is going, so I'm just kind of like just freehanding the whole thing for now. So now we're going to go back to the first drawing again, and we're going to break them down just a little bit more. And you can see the ball is actually working pretty well. So I'm doing the same thing. I'm halving everything, making sure that it's a half. So don't worry, try not to get too fancy with it. Just keep everything in halves, keep it simple, and you're going to see how nicely it's going to work. So we got another one right there. Same thing here. So let's see what we have so far. We're going to be slowing down the top part, and we're going to add in-betweens between these three drawings right here. We're going to actually put more in-betweens because we want to slow the action down. And basically here is where you see your timing working a little better by how you're going to space those drawings. So we're going to add some more animation there. Add another one. And here. Now, what you're seeing right now basically is that as how they're bunching up on top. So the ball is just going to slow down on top, and there's going to be less drawings as it falls to the ground. So it will be faster. So the way you create speed is by just not adding drawings to it and just keeping it the space as separated as possible. And I'm going to go back to the beginning and do the same thing. So let's see what we have so far. A little better. It's slowing down a bit more. So we're going to go back, and now we're going to work on the impact. So the impact basically is when the ball hits the ground. So what we're going to need is between these two drawings, maybe a couple of more drawings. Do a half. So you see how that spacing there, how there's nothing in between, because I want that to speed up a little more. And then I'm going to add another drawing, which will be the ball actually stretching, but it's going to be hitting the ground. It should be touching the ground. Then it turns into a squash, and then it's going to stretch again. And this time you want the ball not touching the ground. You want the ball basically in the air, but stretching. This creates the illusion of taking off. And we're going to be doing the same thing here. And the same thing here with the ball stretching and off the ground. So let's see what we have now. So you can see the squash and stretch. You can see when the ball hits the ground, you see the impact, you feel it, and it just creates the illusion of the weight. Now here, we're pushing the shapes, we're pushing the squash and stretch, so that way you can see it, how it works. A lot of animators, they won't push it as far because they don't want you to see how squishy it looks. That's just to create the illusion that it's, it's a real ball and the way it's going to bounce. But in this case, since, we're showing you for the first time about animation, it's always good to show someone by pushing it as far as you can, so that way you can see it working and see what you can do with these shapes. I feel like it needs to slow down a little more on the top, so let's go back and add some more drawings. And we're going to need more drawings here. So you got to remember, when the ball bounces as high as it can, what's happening is that gravity is starting to take over. So it's going to start pulling it down. And because of that reason, it starts to slow down and arcs towards the ground. And again, as you see, I'm just adding drawings where I need them when it comes to slowing them down. So that's getting a little better. Seems like we're getting there. It has nice rhythm. Let's see if we can do some more, and we should be done. I feel like we need to add maybe another in between here. Let's see how that's going to look. Sometimes you just have to try things you don't know. When you're animating, sometimes you add too many drawings and then you go back and take them out. It's just kind of like, trial and error. There's really no formula. It's as long as it feels good, as long as it feels like it's working, then that's good enough. And that's the feeling you want to have when you're animating. And maybe I'll add another one here. Again, if I feel like it's just too much, I'm adding too many drawings, I'll just go back and get rid of them. And let's add one here. And let's see what we have. So I'm putting it on 22 frames, so now it's feeling much better. And that's how you do a bouncing ball.
Hey,
Here's an art tip. Animate shapes. Keep it simple. Remember the bouncing ball, how it squashes and stretches. Or when you're doing gestures, that you're putting down some really nice, simple shapes. Animate those things. Animate those simple shapes, and you're going to see basically how your movement is going to improve. In this lesson, we're going to be doing the pendulum. Now, the pendulum is also very important because it deals with spacing and timing. Now, here's the thing about the pendulum. Remember that we did the bouncing ball? Well, think of it as an upside down bouncing ball, except that when the bouncing ball goes up, it slows down. Well, with the pendulum is in reverse. It actually goes faster. So let me show you how that works. So that way you can see how you can get different spacing and timing using different drawings and actually spacing them differently. We're going to start with a little dot. We're going to add another drawing. Now I'm going to add another one, which would be an in-between drawing. Now, we can see our arcs working really nicely here. So what I'm going to do now is basically make a copy of this drawing right here. Duplicate that. And put it over on this side. And then I'm going to duplicate this drawing. Put over on this side. Because we're going to want the pendulum, once it goes into this position, we want it to come back. So let's see how this looks. So we see the action, we see what the keys are doing, and we know it's coming back, which is what we want to do. So now I'm going to go and start adding the breakdowns. Again, we're going to do a half. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Just like that. We have our keys, our breakdowns, where you have to be careful you don't get confused. Now you're going to have to make a copy and put it and take it, slide it over to the other ones that we made copies of, so that way we can repeat that process. So we're going to take this one here, make a copy of it, and slide it between these two. And then we're going to duplicate this one. And slide it over. Let's see what we have. So those keys and breakdowns are starting to work better now. Now we have that cycle working the way we want it. Don't worry, it's just trial and error. You just have to figure where each drawing is, so that way you can just place them once you duplicate them. So it's just keep doing it. Don't worry about it until you start seeing it working really well. You know you're in the right direction. So what we're going to do now is start adding some in-betweens. Now, when the pendulum goes up, it's going to slow down, right? And then as it comes down, it's going to speed up right in the middle. So it's the opposite of the bouncing ball. When the bouncing ball bounces up high in the air, it slows down. So in this case, the pendulum is going to slow in as it goes up, and it's going to slow out. So we're going to be adding more drawings towards the end of the pendulum when it goes at its highest. And I'm going to go to the other side. And add that in between. So we're going to add another in between here. So in order to get these two to work together, to create an in-between, I'm going to have to move the first drawing and put it towards the end of the frames and add the slowing. And let's see how that looks so far. So you see, that's getting a little better. And as you see how it slows towards the end of each swing, that's very important. And then towards the middle, there's hardly no drawings. But we're going to slow it down a little more and add more drawings at the end of each pendulum swing. Add another one here. And let's see what we have. So now you're starting to see some weight to it. So let's add one more in between to each end of the pendulum and see what we have. And now we're going to slow out. And let's see what we have. Feels much better. So that's how you do the pendulum. So give it a shot, have a good time doing it, and I'll see you next time. I remember one time at the studio when I was animating on Atlantis, I was given the Milo character where he's throwing up. I was trying to animate that character a couple of times just to make sure I got it right, but it wasn't working out. So I decided to record myself. I decided to, well, let me go home and have my wife record me. I'll act it out and see what I'm missing. And so she did. She went up to the top of the stairs and she recorded me, and I was acting out the character actually throwing up. So as I was doing that a few times, you start feeling that something was trying to come up. And so that's when my wife said, no, keep going, that's working, you know, and it did work out. I studied it. I almost got sick doing it, but the scene came out exactly the way I wanted it, and the directors were really happy with it. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson, and I'll see you next time on The Magic of Animation.